We're ready.
Alrighty then. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to draw your attention to page 35 of 60 about the Wisconsin Woodland Indian Arts Initiative. But before we reread what our good friend Caitlin has done a masterful job writing, I do want to congratulate Caitlin, and I do want to get that on the record, that the addition of her new child to our family is really a blessed event, and I'm just tickled pink about it. So with that said, I wasn't expecting to deliver this report, but since Caitlin has delivered a baby, here you go. It's important to me that we start with a bit of a background about where this money comes from. Take a brief look at the history of my understanding of this, and then take a look at what's happening today and think about what we might do going forward. So in terms of background, Wisconsin's native tribes have certain treaty rights, and among those treaty rights are the rights to game or gamble. When we worked with the state of Wisconsin, the individual tribes were required to sign legal agreements noted as compacts, COMPACTS, with the state of Wisconsin in order for us to express our treaty rights. In those compacts, one of the things that was agreed to was that we would give the state of Wisconsin portions of our gaming revenue in exchange for the ability to express our treaty rights. A reservation that the tribes made was that a certain portion of that compact payment money, $24,000 a year, was required to be returned to the native tribes as support for native artists. That money is funneled through the Wisconsin Arts Board, and thus was born the Woodland Indian Arts Initiative, which for the past, I'm going to say a dozen years, maybe more, has been funding Native arts and Native artists and Native arts initiatives. In the early years, we had no trouble fully spending that $24,000 a year, with Native arts organizations being the primary recipients. Two that were repeated awardees have been the College of the Menominee Nation and the Oneida Arts Board, but there have been plenty of other fine organizations that we've been able to fund. However, we did notice that over the years, the number of applicants has been trending downward. So in 2018 and 2019, we noted that trend and thought perhaps it was time for a little experimentation. And so in 2018 and 2019, we did a 2-year pilot program series where we developed an artist fellowship in addition to the normal organizational grants. We created a program where we selected an arts field, whether it be 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, sculpture, whatever that might be, and invited artists to nominate themselves for this fellowship. It was, I think, a fairly successful program, interrupted by, thank you, the pandemic. So last year, the pandemic obviously impacted everyone. In a native country across Wisconsin, one of the primary things that happened was for our Native arts organizations, especially those under tribal umbrellas, those organizations were effectively shut down. The staff was let go, the organizations were put on hiatus, and there was just no movement. So there was really no one to apply for funding last year in terms of Native arts organizations. So what we did last year, you guys, was we took an extreme shift about what we did with that Native money. And when we shifted gears, we developed an emergency individual COVID grant program. We thought if we had $24,000 and if we put that into $500 chunks, there would be a certain number of Native artists that we could give some unrestricted COVID relief to, the need in Indian country amongst our artists being very great at that time. Well, we were so surprised. Not only did we need to fund $500, but we had so many applicants that we made the decision to cut that award down to $250 per applicant so that we could fund not even all the applicants that we received. What we ended up doing was taking all the applicants and putting them into a lottery and essentially just plucking from a hat to spend at $250 a piece, the $24,000. The response to that emergency arts initiative, COVID initiative grant was huge. Well, this year, things go on. Our Native arts organizations are pretty much back online. Our tribal communities are pretty much fully functioning. And so we had, again, these Native arts organizations up and operating. And so we kind of went back to the original model. And we asked for applications from artists and arts organizations, actually, because you've got to either be an organization or be under a 501c3 to apply for this money. Well, right back to the earlier trend of the number of applicants diminishing, to the point that this year I'm going to present to you that we had 2 applicants for this $24,000 pot of money. Those applicants, I'm going to recommend that you fully fund, because they are the College of the Menominee Nation and the Woodland Indian Arts Initiative, really 2 very deserving organizations with a long track record. But it brings us to the question of, is it time? And I think the answer is yes, to really take a look at what does it mean to support Native art and Native artisans, to really reimagine, rename, re-understand what that support looks like from a Native perspective. And so what we did at the conclusion of our panel discussion was invite in a variety of Native artists, Native arts organizations, and interested parties. And with George and Karen and Caitlin and I in the virtual room, we just asked those people to tell us, what are we missing? Why aren't you applying? Why don't you want this money? And so we have that information. We're reaching out, we're talking to folks, we're brainstorming about ideas. Caitlin's having a baby, so this might get put off by a week or 2. But the other thing I did was I reached out to another organization that I belong to, the Living Traditions Network. I was on a very long call with those folks yesterday, and I had a chance to talk to Zoe Van Buren from North Carolina Arts, Ellie Desero, I think, from South Arts, and a woman named Ruby from Americans for the Arts, who is their director of culture and racial equity. So all of these organizations are really in the same slot that we are right now. We've developed programs over the past 15, 20, 25 years that just don't really mesh with contemporary society. So we're not the only ones. There are models for us to move forward. I won't take you through the whole thing today because there's a lot more brainstorming that needs to be done. But rest assured that we will come back with a plan that will fully utilize this money in a way that our artists, our organizations, our natives are asking for. Until then, let's go back to that page and let's take a look and let's see. Watch me do this. Oh, no, of course I lost it. But there are those 2 organizations on your list that we're asking for funding for. They were fully vetted.
Page 39.
Yep, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that, George, because I just had a huge glitch. And so, well, let me see if I can get along with this. The Woodland Indian Arts organization is a very close name to the name of our organization, but it's out of the Oneida. It is a large festival that brings in Native artists from across the country. It is a festival that brings in Native master artists and provides classes. It is an organization that has been growing and developing over the past 5 or 10 years. The other is the College of the Menominee Nation, who in this particular case are working with some scripts that the Menominee Nation had developed back during the WPA days in the 1930s and 40s. Those scripts have been recently rediscovered in a trunk in my uncle's attic. And the drive now is to digitize those scripts so that they can be more widely distributed amongst Indian country. Two really valid programs. Both of those programs asked for $4,000. The recommendation from the Native panel was to fully fund those. And so I would ask for you at this point to please consider voting in the affirmative for these two. I think I think at this point, it's Brian's job to take us through that vote, but I'm open to any questions or conversation.
Karen, you are welcome to make that motion yourself as the chair.
Well, let me make that go.
Does anyone have conflicts?
Yeah, we should ask that question.
Yeah, we need to go through conflicts first.
I just want to say I'm really impressed with your work, Karen, and your passion, and it always inspires me. So I love that you educate us so much and that you're, taking care and working so hard in such an important area.
Oh, Yonko, Jennifer, we learn so much from one another, eh? It's the truth. Thank you.
All right, here we go for the quick around the horn for conflicts. Jane, do you have any conflicts with the two?
No conflicts.
Karen Ann?
None.
Brian?
None.
Leah?
None.
Susan?
None.
John Potter?
No conflicts.
Gerard?
No conflicts.
Mary?
No conflicts.
Lynn?
No conflicts.
Jennifer?
No conflicts.
Bob?
No conflict.
Matt?
No conflict.
Hey, this is Karen Ann. I'm going to say I do have a conflict for the College of the Menominee Nation, just because then there could be the appearance of a conflict.
That's great. And that's a great example for everyone. It's just the appearance of it. So thank you very much. So Karen, please mute yourself.
All right, done.
All right. Does someone want to make a motion to approve the recommendation for the College of the Menominee Nation?
Richie, I make a motion.
Okay, we had Wallach, and then I'm going to go to Richie as the second. Matt Wallach in the room, and then Richie. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor for the College of Menominee Nation, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passed. Karen Ann, welcome back. So,
Thank you.
Address something real quick on conflicts.
Yeah.
So Brian, you had mentioned that it's the appearance. I don't know that that is the standard. I think it's good practice if you believe that there's.
Right, that's our practice.
Yeah.
That's our
That's our
practice.
practice, yeah.
But I think the legal standard would be if there's an actual.
right,
conflict,
exactly.
I just want to make sure that I'm aware.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
no, you're absolutely right. But years ago, the Arts Board made the decision that if it looks like it, and if it feels like it too, like Karen Ann said, it feels like it, then there's no harm in saying, I'll declare a conflict in this instance.
Great. Yep. Okay, so everyone back. Is there a motion for the Woodland Indian Art?
I'll make that motion. Thank you.
And Ann, is there a second?
Second,
Thank you.
Schwarzkopf.
Jennifer, thank you very much for the second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor for Woodland Indian Arts Initiative, say aye.
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 Okay, we have gone through the grant process very successfully. Thank you. Oh no, I'm sorry. We've got the American Rescue Wisconsin Arts Rescue Plan grant recommendation. So we're not quite there yet, but this one will be passed over to George and Karen.
So we, as you remember, got $828,000 from the National Endowment for the Arts through the American Rescue Plan. So that was our allotment as the state agency. And we had the ability to grant that out as we saw fit based on their criteria. Now, we also had the ability to keep up to $50,000 for the administration at the Arts Board. We decided we kept $42,000, which pays for our intern through the Bowl Center, converting Marie from an intern to a limited term employee, to also pay our friends at DOA to process these awards so that we're not taking it out of our general operating budget to do that. And so those are the operational costs that we kept at $42,000. So we had what amounts to $786,000 left from that 828. And it should be also noted at this moment that Arts Midwest had $142,000, which it got money from the NEA to distribute in the region. And rather than create their own program, just like they did with the CARES Act, they said, okay, Arts Board, when you make your awards, tell us which ones we will fund. So they extended our 78 with another 142. So that's really a happy moment for us to be able to do all of this. As you remember, we set up a program that was hoped to be very simple. If you had a certain budget of revenue, you got a $3,000 award. If you had another level up, you get a $7,000 award. And then if you had the largest, you'd get a $10,000 award. In order to keep a cap on this program, because we knew that the largest organizations would come in and there'd be very little left for everybody else, we said one really important thing. If you got money through the Small Business Administration's shuttered venue operators grants in excess of $200,000, you are not eligible to apply to our program. And that was important because otherwise we would have, as I said, really eaten through the money very quickly. We told you when we discussed this back in July that we thought we'd have 130 applicants. Guess what? By opening it up beyond creation and presentation and letting others in, we got 203 applications. So that's about a 54% up from where we thought we were going to be. As you may recall, the funding in this program can pay for a couple of things. Staff salary, artist fees, facility costs, cleaning products for COVID, and marketing for the reopening after COVID closure. All of this is for expenses that have already been incurred. So this is not them planning for what I'll do in the future, but rather what am I going to use this money for that I've already had to lay out of my pocket during the COVID crisis. So when we got down to it, with many more applications than we had dollars, we had to start making some very important choices. And the first choice was to say, we're going to take out organizations who, as Karen said earlier when we were talking about creation and presentation, don't have art as their major or their most important mission. And let me just get you to the page where I think you can see the summary. That page is page 43. So those organizations on page 43 are the Center for Community Stewardship, Inspiration Studios, and Millennium Theater. In some instances, it was because they didn't fit that art was first. And in some instances, they were a for-profit organization. Well, we don't fund for-profit entities, so that was an easy one to remove. In the $7,000 category, Above the Clouds, Driftless Development, Historic Milwaukee, and the Paper Industry Hall of Fame. I want to underscore here, none of these organizations are terrible organizations. In fact, if we had all the money in the world, we'd love to be able to fund them. We just don't have it. And then Art Start Incorporated is not the one in Rhinelander, but the one that actually has headquarters in New York with a satellite here in Wisconsin. The Pabst Mansion and the Tamarack Waldorf. So those are the ones that when we went through that first pass, we said, these don't fit. We're going to remove those. So the next 4 organizations that have been taken out of this mix are the Children's Theater of Madison, Gatherings on the Green, the Grand Oshkosh, and the Mabel Tainter. So when they applied, they hadn't got their supplemental shuttered venue grant. And once they got the supplement, they were past the $200,000 level. And that's why they are not eligible at this moment. And then on page 44, you'll see what we called the final 6. As we went back and we looked at how we could get this down to the number 786. The Central Wisconsin Children's Museum, the String Academy of Wisconsin, and Theater Bus were three that were removed completely. And in the case of the Wausau Conservatory, the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music, and the school music educators, their award was adjusted. And I show you below in the note. For example, the Wausau Conservatory went from a $7,000 grant to a $3,000 grant. The Wisconsin Conservatory from a $10,000 grant to a $3,000 grant. And the Wisconsin Music Educators Association from a $7,000 to a $3,000. I also note under those three that Arts Midwest is going to pay those as we've allocated them and as we are recommending to you. That's a decision you'll make soon. So having done all that, let's stop for a minute, ask for questions or anything Karen wants to fill in addition to what has just been said, and then I'll go through the list with you.
Yeah, I just want to underscore the unusual decision to recommend some organizations at a lower amount than they would normally be eligible for. We felt strongly about supporting them in some way. We just didn't have the capacity to fund them fully. So we wanted to keep them in the mix. So it was a great privilege to be faced with that sort of really awful struggle. And so we bring it to you for your consideration.
So the way we'll go through this then is we'll go through the large budget, those who are getting $10,000 awards. Then we'll go through the mid-sized budget, those who are getting $7,000 and look for conflicts. And then finally, those who are getting the $3,000 awards. Once we've done that, at the end of that, which is page 55, is the list of organizations that will be funded, we recommend, through Arts Midwest. And you're going to need to approve that that's in fact what goes on, so that we can get that list to Arts Midwest. So,
Are you ready to?
I am ready. I'm just
George,
going, yes, go ahead, Matt.
Can I ask why we're splitting them up by dollar amount, the vote?
Just so that we don't have everybody having to look at the entire list for the conflict of interest. I'm trying to chunk it up so it makes it easier for people to digest.
The report is in chunks.
So page 45 is the list of large budget organizations. So there are 17 applicants. Of those 17, we're looking for any conflicts you might have. And of course, before we do that, are there any questions about anything we've said so far? Back to the question of conflicts. And I will call the roll. I feel like the clerk in the Joint Committee on Finance, the clerk will call the roll. Jane, any conflicts?
No conflicts.
Karen Ann?
None.
Ryan? None. Leah?
None.
Susan?
Wisconsin School Music Association.
Okay. John Potter?
No conflicts.
Gerard?
No conflict.
Mary?
No conflicts.
Thank you. Lynn?
No conflicts.
Jennifer?
No conflict.
No conflicts.
And Matt?
No conflicts. Okay, so why don't we have Susan mute herself as she's so used to today? All right, thank you, Susan. So is there a motion to approve the grant recommendation for the School of Music Association?
Wagner, so move.
Bob, is there a second?
Second, Herring.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Susan, welcome back.
All right, so the next list goes from page
Well,
40.
we have to approve the rest.
Oh, yeah, please.
So is there a motion to approve the remaining grant recipients?
So moved, Gerard.
Gerard, second.
Second, Potter.
Thank you very much, John. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none,
Before we move on, I want to clarify something. We did conflicts initially on the creation presentation recommendations. Did we ever go back and I think we were gonna.
Well, that's what I was wondering with George, was the rest of those music ones, like the big batch, we did all the exceptions, but we never did the huge. And you said we had, and we kept moving, and so, but I'm with Matt on this one.
Let's go back and make sure we've got
All
it on the
right,
record.
so let's go back, and you've all approved, we've all said what they were, so it is for CMP music,
Okay.
not new, but
Yeah, before we went on to the new ones.
Those without conflict.
yeah, those without conflicts, we never voted on those. Okay,
Go ahead.
so is there a motion to approve those?
Richie, I'll make a motion.
Schwarzkopf,
Is there a
second.
Thank you very much, Jennifer Schwartzkopf, second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you, and thank you, Matt, because I was stuck in my head on that too. Okay, if you go to page 46, we're now going to do the mid-size, and that goes from page 46 through page 48. And George?
We appreciate, first of all, I should say, that you had looked through these lists prior to coming to this meeting. It would never have gone as quickly as it has today. So thank you for that. As you review the mid-size list, the question always begins with Jane today. So Jane, any conflict?
No conflicts.
Thank you. Karen Ann?
No conflicts, Folklore Village Farm and Shake Rag Alley.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Brian?
No conflicts.
Leah?
No conflicts.
Susan?
Yeah. I'm just trying to find them again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. We'll go by and we'll come back.
Thank you.
John Potter?
No conflicts.
Gerard?
No conflicts.
Mary?
No conflicts.
Lynn?
Land O'Lakes Area Artisans.
You? Jennifer?
No conflicts.
Bob?
No conflicts.
And Matt?
No conflict.
Back to Susan.
Canopy.
Canopy?
Okay, so hearing those, everyone in the room, and is there a motion to approve all the grants excluding the Folklore Village Farm, the Shake Rag, the Canopy, and Land O'Lakes? We are excluding those. So is there a motion to approve the rest?
So moved, Schwarzkopf.
Second, Reinders.
Thank you very much, Mary. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Karen Ann, please mute yourself. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the Folklore Village Farm and the Shake Rake?
So
Wagner.
moved, Gerard.
Thank you, Bob, for a motion, and thank you, Gerard, for a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, welcome back, Karen Ann. Susan, it's time to, you're already muted. All right, is there a motion to approve Canopy?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, so we
Second.
have Karen Ann as the motion and Gerard is the second.
That works.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Welcome back, Susan. Lynn, your turn. You're already muted. Is there a motion for Land O'Lakes?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have Jane as a motion. Who's second?
Second, Sue's lip.
Mary Reinders. Thank you very much, Mary. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. If you can now look at page 49 through page 54. These are the small organization, small budgets. Large in stature, small in budget. We're gonna test if you looked at them in advance. George, let's see.
All right, Jane, you're first.
No conflicts.
Karen Ann.
None.
Brian?
None.
Leah?
None.
Susan? Come back around.
See, none.
Whoa,
All right.
we'll take that and run.
John Potter.
No conflicts.
Gerard?
Cothi and Wild Space.
Okay. Mary?
No conflicts.
Lynn?
No conflicts.
Jennifer?
No conflicts.
Bob?
No conflicts.
And Matt?
No conflict.
Okay, so Gerard, if you would please mute your microphone. And is there a motion to approve the grant recommendation for Kofi and Wild Space? Thank you very much, Lynn. I can see your mouth moving, but not hear you, so we'll take that. Is there a second?
Horskopf.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. Welcome back, Gerard. And is there a motion to approve the remaining small budget grants?
So move Reinders.
Thank you very much, Mary. Is there a second?
Second Herring.
Thank you very much. And we have a motion and a second. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we are now officially done with.
Not yet.
Gee, oh no, we've got to go down and let's go and look at the page 55. And these are the ones that the recommendation from the staff was to be supported through Arts Midwest. And if you just want to take a quick moment to review these. And do we need to do
Yeah,
Yeah, so we need to go through these as well for conflict, so.
these will be made through Arts Midwest, but by giving them this notification.
Yep.
You're still making that grant through them.
Exactly. Okay,
All right, Jane, one more time.
No
We got it right.
conflicts.
No conflicts. Karen Ann,
None.
Ryan,
none.
Leah,
None.
Susan,
Yeah. Arts Wisconsin and Forward Theater.
okay. John Potter,
No conflicts.
Oh,
Gerard,
No conflicts.
Susan, you got something else?
yeah, Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra.
And Gerard said no conflicts. Mary,
No conflicts.
Lynn,
No conflicts.
Jennifer,
No conflicts.
No conflicts.
and Matt.
No conflict.
Okay, Susan, please mute yourself one more time, one last time. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation for funding through Arts Midwest for Arts Wisconsin Forward Theater and Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra?
So moved, Gerard.
Gerard, is there a second?
Second, Potter.
Thank you very much, John. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passed. And now for the remaining organizations through Arts Midwest, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you
Herring.
very much, Jane. Thank you, Jane. Is there a second?
Second, Gerard.
You, Gerard, you've been an amazing second today, so thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. For the third time and the correct time, we are done with grants for today.
Indeed, that's
Okay,
correct.
and Matt is raising a finger.
Well, one question. Who did Lynn have a conflict with on the mid-sized budget?
The mid-size Lynn had Land O'Lakes.
This is the $7,000 grant?
Mid-size, hang on.
Mid-sizes.
Mid-sized?
Land Lakes would have been the,
Small, oh, sorry, I
Yeah.
had mid-size written down.
No, but I
Sorry.
mean, but on the mid-size, we,
Go back.
Luckily, we're recording.
It's okay.
so on the mid-size, there was the conflict announced of Land O'Lakes.
That's what I thought, because I had it written down in the mid-size too.
It was,
Yes.
but it's
They are
not a
not
mid-size.
listed in the mid-size, so Land O'Lakes is mentioned in the small one. Do we need to go in the small budget? Procedurally,
I don't,
Let's just do it.
I mean, we can, I don't know that we need to, because we still approve.
funding, it doesn't matter what grant size they were at, if it was disclosed. Is that fair to say?
Right.
Are
I
you
just
good
want to
with?
make sure that I got it right.
Yeah.
no, that's great. We certainly can go through that motion, but if we already separated it out and there was a motion in the second to do Land Lakes in the medium,
Yep. It's,
then let's let that ride.
okay,
Yep,
thank you
okay.
very much.
I just didn't see it, so I want to make sure I wasn't.
No, that's great.
All right, thank you, Matt. All right. We are done with grants, and now we will go to the next part of our agenda, which is old business. And I shall not pretend to be Kevin Miller, so I shall not give a chairman's report. I will pass it over to George for the executive director's report.
So as we have tried to be doing as of late, we gave you the report that lists out the different things that staff and I have been doing, just so you get a sense of the rhythm of the work. And I just think it's important to underscore how this work thing we've just been through, how it landed on top of the regular work of this agency, right? So now you have creation and presentation, our largest program operating, and at the same time, we have this $828,000 also going through the system. So the application needed to be created, the guidelines needed to be created, they needed to get out there into the universe, technical assistance had to be done. And so it is a major applause to your staff that they not only took that on, but they did it remotely, right? They weren't sitting next to one another doing this, but they were working from their homes a lot of that time. And so it's a great commitment to the field and the support of the field that this work got done. So that's one thing I'll note. I just had this past week a conversation with Dawn Zanoni, who asked the question, what arts-related activity would we like to see at the Governor's Conference on Tourism? And so because as you may recall, before the pandemic hit, we were going to do an NEA grant writing workshop at WIGCON. Whether they're going to be traveling or not is one question. Whether we might get access to the brand new chairman when she is confirmed. And maybe we could have her come out and be a part of all this. Don't know yet, but if you have ideas, certainly filter them through Karen and me, and we'll get to Dawn and kind of work that through. Staff has been through the NASA anti-bias training. The executive leadership went through its version, and the general staff is doing the as those opportunities come up in the next couple of weeks. And then final note from me that NASA asked and I said yes to serving on their audit committee. So, given the Arts Board's history with NASA and our past concerns about the numbers, it seemed like the right thing to do. So.
And it's a minimal commitment.
And it's a middle, yeah, it's only Karen, I can confirm it's only 2 meetings. So that's a good thing. Other than that, as we say, creative communities is coming. The 1310 with Gerard's help, we hope will be successful and we won't have to not have creative communities. But as you know, the news of today or yesterday means that we're going to be reconfiguring in order to deliver what pieces of Caitlin's work need to be delivered. And so as we celebrate her time off with the new little one, whose name, by the way, they don't have yet, so otherwise we'd be surprising it.
Yeah.
So, but that's going to be going on as well. So kudos to your staff as they shoulder more, or no, let's use one analogy, as they put more hats on the hat tree, shall we say? At least for the short term.
Can I add?
Of course.
I would say that the name is under development.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm really grateful for the fact that we have Ilka and Marie in the mix this time. It's rare that we have one, still less two amazing voices to add to the mix, and it's beautifully timed. So
Absolutely.
thank goodness for that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys for all of your diligent work. And you can see if you look at pages 56 to 60, all the things that happened since our last meeting, and there's a lot.
I'd like to just add, as George talks about, all the stuff that we're doing, and yeah, we're doing a lot. It's why we are not always at the access committee meetings, or always, on top of the strategic planning tasks that we said we would do.
I don't think anyone is questioning anything. I think I speak on behalf of everyone saying you guys do remarkable work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if we could recommend salary increases, they would be substantial.
Honestly, the fact that you guys are supportive and leading in so many ways is a gift that we do not take for granted either. It's a great partnership.
Well, thank you guys very much. All right, our last agenda item, because I'm not going to consider adjourning to take any time, but is the new business. And George sent an email at 8:56 this morning. If you have not seen it, pertaining this next section on the Wisconsin Policy Forum study.
So in conversations with our good friend Ann Katz, we thought, what's the answer to the question, would the Wisconsin Policy Forum be willing to follow up on their last report, the arts and COVID and the existential crisis, to get a sense of where things have gone since COVID has hit the arts community. Joe, who was in charge of the last study, responded very positively to the idea, and you see his thoughts to that end. The other thing that I think is really exciting about it is that his boss also responded positively. So first of all, we want to make you aware that this is percolating in the background. In order for the Policy Forum to take this project on, they're looking for a fee of $2,500. It's a number that I think we can absorb into the budget that we have, 1310 or not. And it also fulfills our legislative mandate to research the field. And so, again, with kudos to our friends at Arts Wisconsin for their partnership on this, I think what I'd like is just a consensus from the board that we can go forward with that. I think we can spend that $2,500 without a board action, but just want to make sure that we're all in favor of the moving forward with such a study. And if you have any questions or comments, welcome.
All right. I would be happy to make that motion, but I think since I'm chairing this meeting, I cannot do this. So.
We'll make that motion. Mary
Thank you
Reinders. So
very
moved.
much. Thank you very Mary. Is there a second?
Wait, are we actually making a motion?
Yeah, I think just so it's on, do you want one?
Yeah, you're making a motion of support. I don't know.
Yeah,
that you-
it's a motion of support. It's not the motion. They've got their budget that they can work with. It's a motion for support. So is there a second?
Second
I'll
wagon.
second.
Thank you, Bob. We have a second. All those in favor of supporting this initiative, not financially, but spiritually, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion of support passes. Before we adjourn, if you see the bottom of your agenda, our next regularly scheduled meeting is to be held in Madison on March 15th as part of WIGCOT. Right now, our understanding is WIGCOT is happening, and that's what we know right now.
What we don't know is at what time of day we'll do this, because Dawn is thinking of moving the governor's council's meeting to the time when we normally meet during the day.
And you need to be.
And I need to be there. So we'll keep thinking about how creatively we'll do this. As I said to Dawn this week, we want you there on Tuesday so that you can be there for the governor's awards banquet that evening. So we'll figure a way to make sure that we can meet that day. That's what you need to know.
All right, everything else is up in the air as to what their protocol, safety protocols, et cetera, will be. So the last thing I want to ask is, how was this experience for you with the meeting owl, with the 4 of us in the room? This is Peninsula Players, and so it's just making sure that if the Wisconsin Hartford wants to spend the money on one, did this help you? Versus just staring at George's face?
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. All right, so did anybody have a negative experience with it? All
I
right,
had a little trouble with the videos when they were playing at the, when they were being shared by Imagine Milwaukee, but other than that, it was all good.
yeah, and that's not the meeting owl, that is just bandwidth and how Zoom handles the sharing of the video. Yes, Susan?
Okay.
I was just wondering if it's possible to use head mics if you're masked.
With the meeting owl, it's not possible. I don't know what it would be possible with people in a room that would connect all into the Zoom platform. I'm not aware of any technology that does that, but Susan, that's good for us to know from an enunciation standpoint and talking a little bit louder so that that's helpful.
The new room at tourism is tricked out with microphones that would be much easier, I think, to hear. Because the room is set up for that kind of thing. This one is not.
It's just a matter of if all of this will patch into it.
Right.
I've noticed that women's voices are very difficult to understand if they're masked.
Thanks, Susan, sorry.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I have one more.
We might be able to get you something. I'll talk to my people about it.
Thank you very much, Susan. Okay, George has one more item before we adjourn.
You know, I forgot to say this during the executive director's report, but this is a double anniversary year for me. So I thought I'd bring it forward. It was December 30th, 1991 that I started at the Arts Board. So we're coming up on 30 years in a couple of weeks. And also, in October 26th, it was my 25th year as director of the Arts Board.
Jesus, man.
So when you think about that, it's caused me to think about it a lot lately, is that I've been at this for, at least as director, it will be over half the agency's life. And 30 years at the agency. And I've been saying to people, either I really like my job or I'm too stupid to get out. And the answer is the former, not the latter. So
That is wonderful to hear. And
Congratulations, George.
yes, congratulations, and we're all blessed to have you.
all right, Brian, bring him home.
And George did get his card. He's downplaying it, but he did get the card. So thank you to everyone who took the
Yes,
time to
absolutely.
celebrate George's special day that he's ignoring.
I will be happily looking. Thank you. I will be happily looking at the card when we're done. When I have a time to enjoy it.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Hey, Gerard, is there a second?
Wagner.
We are adjourned. We have a motion and a second. Thank you guys very much. We wish you a wonderful holiday, whatever it is you celebrate. And we will look forward to seeing you in March.
And thank you for staying all the way through the meeting.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Birthday again, George.
Bye.
Congratulations, George. Thank you for all that you do